Mark Zuckerberg, founder and chairman of Facebook, personally went after Alex Jones, personally ordered that his site be removed. Also, the book Omarosa wrote about the president being unhinged. Boy, oh boy, the fake news people are eating this up. All right, so some of it's not fake news, but who can even discern it anymore? I'm Randall Terry. This is Voice of Resistance. Last week, there was a special election in, I believe, Ohio's 12th district, and the Republican won, the man that President Trump was campaigning for, which was good. But what I have watched as a result of this is the unending vitriol of establishment Republicans to not just destroy President Trump, but the party of Trump. I was listening to a radio show in the last 24 hours that played a tape of a Republican operative, a Republican activist, saying that if the Republican Party is going to be saved, that the party of Trump, the Republican base for President Trump, that the party of Trump must be destroyed. In other words, for those of you who don't speak political insider, political activism, that man was saying that he is prepared for the Republicans to lose the presidency, to lose the House, to lose the Senate, to lose key governor races, in order that the people who brought President Trump to the White House, that they can be suppressed, that they can be marginalized, and so that the control of the party can go back to longtime GOP leaders, the Mitch McConnells, the John Kasichs, the governor of Ohio. In other words, the people who got us into this mess, the Jeb Bushes. One of the things that many of us don't understand is that politics is a multi-billion-dollar industry. It's not just about getting elected. It's about fundraising. It's about access. It's about above-table bribery, where campaign contributions are made, or contributions are made to, say, the Clinton Foundation. People were making 6 and 7 and 8-digit figure contributions to the Clinton campaign while Hillary was the Secretary of State. Everyone knew that at some point she was going to run for president again, which she did. And so these were not directly campaign contributions, but they were contributions to her, betting that someday she might be president, and that those huge contributions to the Clinton Foundation, which benefits Bill and Hillary, that those huge contributions would be remembered, and that they would buy political leverage or political favors or policy decisions. With the Republican establishment often right now out in the cold, where do they go to raise money? Who takes them seriously? Who takes the never-Trumpers seriously right now? Now, if they want to get on CNN, if they want to get on MSNBC or one of the 3 major networks, the non-cable networks, they can get interviewed. Any Benedict Arnold inside of the Republican Party who wants to be interviewed by the Trump haters in the media, they can do it. Here's what most people don't know. There's no money in it. Did you know that they don't get paid for those interviews? I've been on Oprah Winfrey twice, 60 Minutes, 60 Minutes 2. Dan Rather interviewed me one-on-one, Leslie Stahl. Never got paid for any of it. They pay your airfare to get you there. And if you have to spend the night, they'll put you in a hotel. They might give you a voucher for food, but that's it. So when these Benedict Arnolds come out into the media and they speak against President Trump and against the party of Trump, there's no money in it for them to do the interview. The question is, what will be the benefit to their base, their monetary base, if they're involved in fundraising or if they're involved in campaign contributions, or if they're involved in campaign management, or if they're involved in media management. The question is there going to be any reciprocation financially for what they do? Or is it truly just an act of what they would believe an act of honor? You know, a bunch of Republican activists, GOP, Lord have mercy, I'm thinking of all the disparaging things I can say. The people who are responsible for the mess that we're in, all right? The treacherous, the people who use child killing or marriage as bait to get the party of Trump to vote for them, but they have no intention of really defunding Planned Parenthood. So the question is, when these people get together at dinner and they're talking and laughing and just discussing how boorish President Trump is and what a loser he is and that he's unhinged and he's mentally unstable, blah, blah, blah. And they look at each other and say, well, what are we going to do to stop him? And then one of them says, well, I can get you on blank. And then they have to say, well, do I want to be on blank TV show? Do I want to do it? And then one of them, maybe after his third or fourth martini, says, I'll do it. Get me on. I'll tell him what I think. Maybe he thinks that he's going to get some business from John Kasich. Maybe he thinks that the Jeb Bush types are going to hire him because of his public statement against Trump. I don't know. This is conjecture on my part. But what I know is that this is a multi-billion-dollar industry. And if you're a Republican and you're against Trump, there's not a lot of money on the table for you. Not a lot of opportunity. So for them to be in a position where they are once again in control of the party and in control of where money is spent and where money is not spent and how money is raised, they have to defeat Trump. They have to get the Tea Party activists, the pro-life activists, the pro-marriage activists, the pro-Second Amendment activists, the people who want honorable trade. They have to get all of us back into the corner where we don't exert so much authority in Republican politics. So while they say that they hate Trump, and I know that they do, it's really us. They do not want the issues, the policy issues that are important to us, to be driving the ship of state. And they certainly don't want President Trump at the helm with us cheering him on. So John Kasich is now saying he might run for president against Trump in a primary. It's funny to me. I've got to take a break. I'll be right back. Keith Ellison is in trouble, by the way, up in Minnesota. Don't go away. Warrior Guitars. Without question, the best guitar I've ever played, heard, or seen is a Warrior. The owner of Warrior, Jay Dran, has an incredible testimony of redemption and healing. God gave him the vision to start Warrior Guitars and a passion to make the best guitars in the world. They only make about 120 guitars a year, each one by hand. Maybe one of them could be yours, or a once-in-a-lifetime gift for someone you love.
I've played a lot of guitars, I own a lot of guitars, and although the quality is exceptional on all of them, this is by far the most finely crafted instrument I own or have ever played. And I'm glad I own it.
Contact my friends at Warrior Guitar. Tell them Randall Terry sent you. Keith Ellison is the Muslim who has been in the U.S. House and who swore his oath to uphold the Constitution on a Quran held by Nancy Pelosi. It's laughable to swear an oath on the Quran that you will uphold the Constitution that the Quran and Islamic Sharia law are committed to overthrow. But nonetheless, he is now running for the state attorney general for Minnesota. He's not a good man. And in the last 48 hours, allegations from two different women about physical domestic abuse have emerged. Whether it's true or not, it appears to be true. It passes the smell test at some level, but he's probably going to win his primary. The question is, what will it do to him in the general election? But the bigger the overarching issue is this, that Keith Ellison, as a Muslim, as a follower of Muhammad, is committed to Islamic law. He's committed to Sharia law. Now, what would be fun is if even one journalist in the mainstream media had the knowledge, the integrity, and the courage. It would take all three of those things, the knowledge, the integrity, and the courage, to ask him, as a Muslim, will you renounce Sharia law? Because any Muslim theologian or Muslim historian or anyone who's a devout Muslim knows that Islamic Sharia law allows for slavery, sexual slavery, calls for the killing of any Muslim who leaves Islam, calls for the killing of anyone who speaks disparagingly about Muhammad. There's a whole bunch in Islamic law that would make one shudder if they knew what it was. There is no freedom of speech. There is no freedom of religion. There is no freedom of the press in Islamic law. All right? It doesn't exist. So it would be fun to see if someone would just ask him, do you renounce the aspects of Sharia law that are in direct contradiction with the U.S. Constitution? And I know that's a different question than the first one. Do you renounce Sharia law carte blanche, or just the aspects of Sharia law that call for the oppression of women, the abolition of various religions, the enslavement of Christianity, etc.? Of course, so far I've been disappointed. No one's had the courage, the integrity, or the knowledge to ask him that. But we have to understand that men like him are a threat to our liberties. They're a threat because of what they believe. Now, it wasn't long ago, in my lifetime, that if someone was a true communist, they were considered a threat to the American way of life because of what they believed. Because of the ideology of communism, the philosophy of communism, and the policy requirements, the government laws, the laws that are required if communism's philosophy prevails. Because of that, people who were communists were believed to be a threat because of what they believed, because what they believed required them to act certain ways and to achieve certain goals in public policy, in government, in laws, in regulations, in business, in home ownership, in education. Well, they should have been considered a threat. If you believe in the U.S. Constitution and you believe in life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness under God and under his laws, communism is a threat. But Islam is a far greater threat. Islamic law is a far greater threat than communism. Islamic law is a far greater threat than the Communist Manifesto. And communism, for the most part, no, that's not true. I was going to say communism has come unraveled in the last 200 years. It's taken a severe beating, but it hasn't come unraveled. Islam, for 1,400 years, nearly 1,400 years, has been quite successful in oppressing Christianity, killing Christians, enslaving people, authorizing the rape and enslavement of women. And this history is available to anyone, whether it's in Spain or in Greece or in Constantinople, what is now Istanbul. You can read the history of what Muslim armies did. You can read about Persia. You can read about North Africa. You can see what has happened in Egypt to the Coptic Christians there. This data is available. You can see what happened to the Armenian Christians. So when someone says, like I'm saying, that Islam, the philosophy, the theology, the religion, the law code of Islam, in which Keith Ellison, running for Attorney General in Minnesota, in which he believes, when we say that Islam and its attendant philosophies and laws, Islam is a threat, we're speaking the truth based upon history, based upon the words of Islamic Sharia law. And yet we are the ones who are called haters because we tell the truth and we analyze reality accurately. Lord, have mercy on us. It's a scary day when the people who say the emperor is naked are stoned or flogged or thrown into political oblivion. I'll be right back. Don't go away. What would Muhammad do
Islamic Terrorism Explained is the best movie series documentary ever produced on the life of Muhammad and Islam. How do I know? Because it's what critics are saying. John Moore, radio host and author, said, "I learned more from What Would Muhammad Do about Islam and Islamic terrorism than I've learned from everything I ever read and watched in my entire life." Friends, this is what the experts are saying. No one has ever done what we've done. I encourage you to get 1, 2, 4 copies. Call 304-289-3700 or order it at the address or the website that you see on the screen.
The fourth estate is what media is sometimes referred to. Sometimes it's referred to as the fourth branch of government. Sometimes it's referred to as the watchdog of government. One thing is clear in the American experiment on self-government, and that is that a free press is essential to the survival of a free people. Now, herein is a problem. I don't think that Thomas Jefferson or John Adams could have envisioned a day when communications were under such tight control from so few individuals. Remember, at the time of the American Revolution, there were hundreds, maybe thousands of newspapers in America. Constant competition, constant front pages that were badgering each other and responding to each other. And there was a lively political debate. There was no radio, there was no television, there was no Facebook, there was no cell phone. It was the printed word and the repeated word, okay? I mean, that's it. I mean, you had smoke signals, but they're not really accurate for a letter to the editor. I don't think that they could have envisioned a day when Mark Zuckerberg, the founder of Facebook, could literally obliterate a voice that reaches millions of people, as he is in the process of doing with Alex Jones. I don't think they could have envisioned a day when the New York Times would be so powerful in its influence and yet so unfettered from moral, righteous, ethical guidelines and so blind to it. They're so entrenched in evil that they actually don't see it. That's the frightening thing. It's a wall of arrogance surrounded by a moat of ignorance. It's impenetrable. I don't think that our founding fathers could have foreseen that day. So it is true, and I must continue to assert that Facebook has the right to ban Alex Jones. They banned me. They removed my Facebook account. I'm a pea shooter compared to Alex Jones. They have the right to do it. But there is another point, and that is the suppression of free speech and the fact that the fourth estate, a free press. I mean, look with me, if you would, at CNN. This network, which at one point really was something. I remember when CNN came into being. I remember when Ted Turner was a visionary. I remember when, during the Iranian hostage crisis, CNN really got its footing and began. And I was on CNN many, many times. Pat Buchanan had a great show called Crossfire, where he would be on the right and someone else would be on the left. Bernie Shaw. I mean, these were people that there really was some honor and integrity at CNN and a sense of fair play, and we've got to get both sides. That's gone. CNN is abominable. I mean, they're well dressed, they're well lit, they have great makeup, they have decent scriptwriters, but they're liars by omission and by what they say. So they no longer serve a very healthy use for a free people. When you've got a network like CNN that interviews that whore, the hooker, what's her name? Stormy Daniels, over and over and over and over, and her attorney over and over and over and over, while she's then going out and doing, this is child alert here. I'll give you a minute here. Sorry about that. When they interview her over and over, and then she uses that, and goes on her stripper tour, and then comes back for more with the media, and they're just feeding this. And yet they don't give the coverage that is due to the remains of American soldiers' bodies, their remains being given back from North Korea after almost 70 years. Do you see that there's a problem? Because getting those remains back was a great achievement by President Trump. And they can't stand to give credit to President Trump. So they literally would turn their back on the remains of American soldiers from Korea and not give it the kind of coverage that it deserved, but still keep giving us Stormy Daniels. That's truly a free press, but it's also a press that is unhinged. It's a press that doesn't understand what's important. They think their mission is to destroy Trump. And that is the problem, friends. And by the way, they're collaborators in the brutal murder of babies, in ignoring Christians suffering and women being raped under the heel of Islam. So they have proven themselves to be false protectors of the freedom of the press. And it's tragic because they, in many ways, truly, as the president has said, they really have become the enemy of the people. But it's not that they're an enemy of the people, it's they're an enemy of righteousness. And any enemy of righteousness and justice, by definition, is an enemy of people. I'll be right back.
What Would Mohammed Do? Islamic Terrorism Explained is the best movie series documentary ever produced on the life of Muhammad and Islam. How do I know? Because it's what critics are saying. John Moore, radio host and author, said, "I learned more from What Would Mohammed Do about Islam and Islamic terrorism than I've learned from everything I ever read and watched in my entire life." Friends, this is what the experts are saying. No one has ever done what we've done. I encourage you to get 1, 2, 4 copies. Call 304-289-3700 or order it at the address or the website that you see on the screen. Friend, we have a series that will help you and those you love to have an impact on this country. It's called Insurrecta Nex. That's Latin for revolution against the killing of innocent people. This is the history, the philosophy, and the theology of social revolution in America. We will send you this 14-part TV series along with these manuals for students, a teacher's facilitator guide for only $40. Go to 304-289-3700, 304-289-3700.
We have a movie coming out very shortly, in some theaters as a matter of fact, called Muhammad in His Own Words. Here's the new trailer.
Muhammad, the founder of Islam. Muslims believe that he was the prophet of God, or messenger of Allah, or apostle of Allah.
I am God's messenger to you, commanding you to worship God. I summon you to God and warn you of his punishment. Save yourself from hellfire.
Most of us in non-Muslim nations know nothing about Muhammad. Nothing about his life, his words, his example, and his companions.
I have been given superiority over the other prophets. And while I was sleeping, the keys of the treasures of the world were brought to me and put in my hand.
To understand Islam, Islamic law, Islamic governments, and unfortunately, Islamic terrorism, we must study Muhammad's words and the critical events in Muhammad's life, and thus the example he left his followers.
You can see how powerful this film is going to be. No one has ever done this, ever, in filmmaking, just allowed Muhammad to speak for himself. If you know a movie theater in your community that might be interested in running this, contact us. Either you contact the theater yourself or we'll contact them, but we need to get this in as many theaters as possible because it's the truth.